we're going to be driving around France in this?
Yeah, well,
Oh, James.
theoretically. It's an old Jag. You have to
I
make
think
allowances.
it's wonderful.
Do you want to see what I've done for you?
Yeah. A beer rack.
It's a wine rack, actually.
Well, where's the wine then?
Well, there isn't any wine. I've put some beer in it for emergencies, but it's very, very clever. Hang on, let me move some of this.
It looks as though you're going to be nesting chickens in there.
Well, that's to stop. You see, I knew what you'd say. You'd say, oh, wine can't go in the boot of a car.
They're knocking chickens.
Look, it's... Imagine this is a bottle of wine, which would be a lot longer. Obviously, there's a bit of straw to dampen vibration, and at the back, there's a foam pad, feel it? So that it will accommodate varying lengths of wine bottle. It will, you know, butt up against the foam. That closes to keep it in place, and there is a rubber mounting to dampen vibration, and the heat insulation underneath that bit of the car to protect it from the exhausts.
Are you going to be as conscientious and as caring of my needs all the way through our trip, or what?
No.
No, I thought...
That was as far as it went.
Yeah, nicely done.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
lovely. We stayed on the tarmac.
Last time we
Fantastic.
came down there was that bloke nearly shunted us up the chuff.
Shuttered us up the chuff.
Shunted?
Shunted us up the chuff.
Yes.
Shunted us up the chuff.
The chuff being the back end and the shunt being a collision.
Is that the kind of language you use in the car world?
I don't know if it's specifically car world, it's just... That's just the way normal people who live in the normal world and who don't sit in on their own looking at bottles of wine, that's how they talk.
Oh, shunted us up the chuff. I'm just
Yeah.
here. Look, I've just been shunted up the chuff.
Yeah. They say that all the way from Yorkshire to Lancashire to Cumbria to Scotland, down to London and the southeast and the West Country, Cornwall, Wales.
So why is it I've never ever heard anyone say I've just been shunted up the chuff?
Because you don't go out, you sit inside looking at bottles of Baron Bombburst.
I mean, thank God I do, because clearly you go out and meet a whole bunch of people with extremely strange ways of expressing themselves.
I'm sure
Shunted
most
up the
people...
chuff.
Well, but if we see any English people, we'll stop them and see if they know what that expression means.
Being shunted up the chuff, you'd probably get a fist in your face, because it probably means something entirely different. Right, we're going to see a bloke called Gavin Quinney.
That doesn't sound very French.
Well, no, he's not. He's an English bloke. I mean, he's an English bloke who sold everything up in London and came out here and bought himself a chateau.
Why on earth would you do that?
Well, I mean, you know, he wanted to live the dream. That's why he wanted to come over here, make wine, live the dream of being a wine producer. That's why.
Very neat chateau. Oh, that's absolutely splendid.
Isn't it fantastic?
Very
Good to see you, mate.
Very good to see you. So, how's your trip?
Oh, well, look at this
living people
beast
we
that we're
see.
going on. That's the good thing about it. Well, I mean, James being grumpy all the time is a bit of a nuisance. You know, trying to persuade him that even anyone actually lives in France at all. We've been all through all his vineyards. He's absolutely convinced no one does any work ever in the vineyards.
Right.
They just grow by themselves. You know, these beautiful tailored vineyards. Just that's how nature does it.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's not quite the case.
Bonjour.
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 Monsieur.
Bonjour.
Daniel's our chef de culture. He's in charge of the vineyard. Nothing to do with culture. But today we're going to do a bit of green harvesting. It's just before the grapes, just as the grapes are changing colour, we're going to lop off some of the excess grapes in order to improve the others. Pour encourager les autres, if you see what I mean. So
No,
we want to.
frankly. Is this a bit like shooting every 10th prisoner or something? You lop a few off and the other grapes know they better pull their finger out.
Exactly
otherwise-
right.
So there's-
Exactly.
So you only provide lunch for 5 prisoners?
Yeah.
And there are 10 prisoners?
Yeah,
I see,
exactly.
yes, right.
This one. Voilà.
That looks good then.
Oui.
Sure?
Oui. Oui. Il faut supprimer.
It is a far, far better thing.
Voilà. Et c'est beaucoup plus. C'est ok.
This is okay, and that's clair and bon, and arrangement is pleasing. And they're not grouped together, they're all close to the actual vine, and that's super.
Celui-là.
This seems like a sort of great genocide. We're just murdering thousands of the buggers here.
Okay, so what we're trying to do is to lengthen everything out, so each bunch has its own sunshine.
Yes.
Got it. Look at that then. Beautifully done.
Do you realise, you know how slow we were at doing that?
Yeah.
Danielle says he can do a whole row in 30 minutes. And that means in a typical French working day, you can do 2 rows of this.
Thank you, James.
That's remarkable.
That'll go down really well with our hosts.
How long have you been here?
7 years.
7 years. And you were, prior to that, you were in the computer business, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And you chucked all that in to come and be a bucolic Frenchman.
Gavin, tell me what you think about this.
I think it's green. It's a bit nettly and herbaceous and fresh and versatile, I think.
All really mouth-watering things, because that's what I'm trying to talk to James about. Mouth-watering things. Think those green flavours. Think of nettles. Think of gooseberries. Think of those sort of green apple flavours. And also there's something fatter in here. A sort of fatter, sort of slightly creamy...
Sorry, I didn't
This is
explain
my
that.
my well-mannered friend.
It's the oscillator whistle, which means I'm tired of hearing about the vocabulary of wine. It's a Sauvignon grape. It's from Bordeaux. How much is it on a shelf in an English supermarket?
Well, it's not in an English supermarket, but it's about £6.50.
£6.50 is very reasonable.
Yeah.
Have that. Right. Can I have a piece of pork pie now, please?
Ready for the catch?
Right hand down. Turn right. Right a bit, right a bit. Brace. Right hand down. Brace.
There's dates.
I'm not entirely sure what Mark's doing. I look like the royal family.
Yeah. But he knows what he's doing.
He must do.
Let's go first.
Bye, dog.
Bye, dog.
Well done, Barty.
Oh,
Change of
no! You... Look. Look at that. Your bloody mouldy banana has leaked on the peerless woodwork of my car.
I was only keeping it for you because I knew you liked black bananas.
Has anybody got a piece of...
Like a bunch of automatons.
This is at the end of the Walton or something.
I think one of the chief reasons that Chardonnay has become a laugh and a bit of a joke wine is firstly because Bridget Jones did nothing but drink Chardonnay and was utterly miserable and endlessly trying to sort of throw herself off bridges and things in the Bridget Jones diaries. And secondly, in footballers' wives, one of the wives is actually called Chardonnay. So you can't imagine a serious wine drinker going in and saying, "I'll have a glass of that footballer's wife, please."
But I think Chardonnay, see, when somebody says Chardonnay to me, you're right, it does have that image. I do think of a hen party in one of those stretch limos, probably with some knickers flying out of the window or somebody...
What, and you running behind like mad trying to catch hold of the knickers,
No.
see if there's a phone number attached.
Don't mince about. I don't want any sort of... I want you to drive like a Frenchman who'd had 4 or 5 glasses of Guy's evil grog and was keen to get home to the lavatory, even though he hasn't got one. This has absolutely nothing to do with wine, but it does have quite a lot to do with the French and the French mentality. This is a 2CV. It was designed before the war, and part of the original design remit was that it had to be able to drive across a ploughed field with a basket of eggs on the passenger seat without breaking any of them. And this was because it was designed as a car for rural people, and it would in fact be driven across fields. So Monsieur Oz, the local French peasant, he has to drive from here and back again across the ploughed furrows without breaking any of the eggs in the basket. We don't actually know if this works because it's been repeated millions of times, this idea. It may be a myth, I don't know, but we'll find out because now we'll see if the 2CV breaks the eggs. Go. We're gripping. Go on.
Where's the handbrake?
There's the twisty lever in front of you.
Okay, got it.
See, it's front-wheel drive, which makes it very good for driving across ploughed fields. It's got very, very long travel, very soft suspension and very narrow tyres. It really was designed as a, I mean, the polite expression is the people's car, but actually peasant's car is what they meant. Well, look at that. It's not faked, this is absolutely true. That's remarkable, it works. Oh, there's a tiny bit of damage. This earth has sustained a wound, but actually not so bad that you couldn't still make an omelette with it, so none of the others are damaged. It's all true. You can cross a ploughed field in a 2CV with a basket of eggs on the seat. Do you want to try it in the Jag?
I'd love to try it in the Jag.
Come on,
Your
then.
Jag in this field.
Let's not try it in the Jag. Okay, here's something I don't like about wine. I like the drink. When you give me a nice one, it's absolutely terrific, but I can't stand people being poncy about wine. And you'll know exactly what I mean. It's people who oh, it happens in restaurants particularly. People go in and they look at the wine list and they say, yes, oh, I think we need one of these. And they do the thing that you do, swirling it around, but they don't really know what they're doing. And I hate this idea that people use wine, and French wine in particular, because it's so obscure and it's so difficult to understand, as a sort of one-upmanship. In the way that people do with food, they're pretending that, oh, they couldn't possibly drink a wine from Australia because they're so sensitive and their palates are so sophisticated. And it is clearly twaddle, because if you can't do it after your 80 years of drinking solidly and looking at bottles of wine in your house on your own with no friends, how can anybody with a normal life possibly know about French wine? This is terrific. We've driven past a chateau, which Oz saw. It turns out that it doesn't produce any wine at all, as far as we can make out, but the owner, Monsieur Le Comte, or something like that, has a car museum in his barn. Quite often you do find these small car museums attached to things like big old houses. It happens in England as well, and usually they're just fairly random collections of cars, but this one is themed. It's a collection of presidential cars from all over the world, and they're running a special exhibition at the moment of cars connected with the life of President Charles de Gaulle, which is particularly good and very French, and it'll have a lot of Citroën DS's in it, and I can talk about that for a week, which means I can now do to Oz what he does to me, that is bore him absolutely witless talking about my specialist subject with no let-up and without stopping even when he begs me, and he hasn't got a whistle, of course.
What I want to know is, what's this got to do with wine? And James knows as much about cars as I know about wine. He probably knows more about cars than I know about wine, because every time he starts, it is impossible to stop him going on about cars. Every detail he comes up, and frankly, he uses a language that is impenetrable to me, and I do try to understand what he's talking about. I just can't.
Driven one of those, not driven one of those, driven one of those. Oz. Kennedy convertible. Is that the actual one he was assassinated in? I always thought that was in America.
Hang on. 22nd of November 1963, yes, it was.
What does this say?
Several hours after the assassination, the car was sent by military airport to the Hessen-Eisenhardt factory in Cincinnati, where it was completely dismantled and reconstructed in its present state here. That's the car.
Wow.
Good God. That's the assassination car.
But look, there's another one down here. These are built by ZIL in Moscow, which is actually a truck manufacturer, but they made a very limited number of limousines over the years.
What? They're vast.
It's got a huge V8. It weighs something like 3 and a bit tons, and they're armour plated. But I went to the ZIL factory once when I was doing a story in Russia, and I was taken into the factory, and I was taken right up to the top floor to meet the president of the company. He was a really stern-looking, hairless Stalinist, like something out of a James Bond film. And he said, we have ZIL-114 belong glorious leader Brezhnev. And I said, oh, could I drive it? And he picked his phone up and went, and barked in Russian, and I thought, this is it, we're going to the Gulag. Yes, and he put the phone in and he said, yes. And they got it out and gave it to me, and I drove it through Moscow, and it was absolutely brilliant. DS is the greatest single leap in car design and technology there's ever been, because the car has always developed very, very incrementally. There's never really been any quantum leaps like there has in aviation. But that came out in 1955, and everything about it was really radical. Let me have a think about it. It had self-leveling hydropneumatic suspension so that it could raise up and down, and gave it a fantastic ride. It had a semi-automatic gearbox, so there was no clutch, but it still had a manual change. But the really interesting thing about it in relation to General de Gaulle, you know, there were a lot of assassination attempts made on him, 20 or 21 in his life?
21.
21, thank you. 2 of them were made when he was being chauffeured in his car. In one of them, he was being driven in a DS like that, maybe even that one, I don't know. An assassin, a would-be assassin, threw a bomb at the back of the car, and it exploded and blew one of the rear wheels clean off. And in any other car, that would have been the end of that. A murderer would have come up and shot the president. But because it was a DS and it had self-leveling suspension, the chauffeur was able to continue on 3 wheels because the suspension system automatically levelled it out.
It would help you to learn French. Look, this is the Citroën DS 19 in which General de Gaulle escaped death with Madame de Gaulle.
There you go. So that is the very one.
When you hear James going on like a torrent, like the Niagara Falls, to be honest, rushing great torrential streams of verbiage, it does make you realise that sometimes when I get the bit between my teeth on wine, he must be thinking, I simply don't know what this guy's talking about, but I really wish he'd stop. If women drink mature Chardonnay, their neck flashes, their pupils dilate, and their nipples go erect. Sure signs of sexual arousal. Now, if a man actually drinks mature Cabernet, i.e. Bordeaux or mature Cabernet, he gives off pheromones that women find really exciting.
Right, so if 2 people who don't know each other very well, a man and a woman, they don't know each other very well, but they'd like to sort of get it on, and they're going to go out for dinner together, she should order the Chardonnay, the old Chardonnay, and the bloke should order the mature Bordeaux Chateau Baron Bombburst or whatever.
Yep.
And within 10 minutes they'll have the beast with 2 backs and they'll be happy.
Well, not hopefully at the dinner table. I was thinking
no,
in 2 or 3 hours, they, with any luck, shouldn't be able to keep their hands off each other.
That is the best wine fact you've come out with.
It's a wine and dating fact.
That is a really good wine and dating fact.
James was trying to do an 11-point turn in the narrowest piece of the narrowest country lane we've ever been in. I mean, when he started doing it, I thought, James, you're the expert here, but I'm not an expert. I wouldn't be trying to do a turn in a very narrow road with a ditch.
I didn't know there was a ditch.
Well,
it doesn't look like one.
Maybe I can see the ditch slightly more from my side of the road than you can. We've got a wall on one side and a ditch. We've got a ditch on this side.
Doesn't look too bad.
Well, no, but we've already tried to get it out, and it
stuck.
just spins the wheel. We'll have another go, have one more go and see if we can get it out. Then we'll have to what? I don't know, what do you do? I mean...
You have to push whilst I spin the wheels and cover you in cow poo from the bottom of the ditch. Nature has provided a natural chock for the rear wheels. My reputation is going to be in tatters.
I'll tell you what, the natural chock for rear wheels at this rate is going to be your sleeping bag. Well...
And as the cock crew, those who stood before the tavern shouted, "Open then the door."
Very
know
good.
what little time we have to stay, and once departed may return no more.
I promise you, James, if there were a tavern, I would be in it, and you would be getting this dealt with. Anyway.
Right, do you want to drive, or do you want to hump?
Well, basically, I should drive, because I didn't do
Fine.
the idiotic thing of shoving it in a ditch. Well, look, you drive first.
You drive.
No,
But remember,
you drive.
you're not insured yet.
You
for the
drive.
Jaguar.
You know, I'll push.
Okay.
Are you going to spin the wheels, Jim? Is that
Bonjour, monsieur.
Bonjour, monsieur, merci, une autre française. It's nice how the French help us on this, isn't it? It's lovely.
Well, they're about to help, and then they see the English number plate, and they think, no.
I think you're absolutely right. I think they actually just they slow down to look at this nice car and say, oh, that was nice, put it in a ditch and move off again. Okay.
That is in first. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
And...
absolutely no effect whatsoever.
Right. Are the exhausts pressing on the ground or anything? Don't put your
I
feet.
think they're free, probably.
Right.
I tell you what,
But
there's an extremely nice smell of fresh grass and petrol coming out. So you don't mind if I put my head down on the exhaust pipe for a moment and enjoy it?
Not at all. I'd be delighted because I've just selected reverse. Here we go.
Okay. Oh, what a master! Yes! Look at this! That was very well done, James, but don't put it in the ditch again, please. Look at that mess you've made of the French countryside. Eating celery and drinking Cabernet is supposed to make you more attractive to women, and I have to say, before going out to parties, I've actually taken a bit of celery, eaten it, and I've actually dabbed Cabernet around my ears and my neck and gone to parties, hope to pick up women.
Did it work?
Absolutely not. It was yet another in my long line of dismal failures. Bonjour monsieur, monsieur Dice, je m'appelle Oz Clark, j'ai un grand capin de vous et mon ami James.
Bonjour monsieur.
Bonjour.
Ça m'intéresse beaucoup, c'est pour comprendre la différence entre Altenberg et Schöneberg spécialement, mais aussi des choses comme Grasberg. Et je me rappelle, ils sont tous absolument différents, une grande caractère différence.
Oui, oui.
Et ça m'intéresse beaucoup.
Bah écoutez, je suis là pour ça.
Ouais. Excellent.
Je suis là pour ça.
Excellent. Now, did you understand me?
Oui.
Vous avez tout compris.
Il parle français.
Vous parlez très bien français, comme moi anglais.
He touched me. I've met him no more than 3/4 of a minute and he started touching me. He's Monsieur Jean-Michel Dice. He's a wine producer. He looks like one of the wooden tops. That's all I know. He only speaks French, so Oz is talking to him, and apparently he's very interested in terroir. And in order to drive home to us exactly what it means and exactly how all these things influence the flavour of the grape after fermentation, he's going to make us lick some stones. Okay, licking stones, go. No, that one smells really good.
C'est le goût de la terre.
No, that one's sapou de merde, a sapou de mineral.
Oui, ça sent la vie.
No, this smells of. Hang on.
Regarde.
Mine smells of. Hang on.
Yours is stronger.
Well, mine's very different. Oui. What's that smell? It's something green, but I can't think what.
No, yours just smells straight of earth.
But there's something else in there as well.
Yeah, cut grass.
Regardez.
A bit of cut grass, but this is. I've
Yours
never
is
smelled.
To mine.
What's all this about?
I don't know yet. Do I lick this?
No.
Oh, it does taste.
That is a very. That doesn't smell quite like mud. It smells like.
Donc là, tu vois, là, tu as quelque chose d'intéressant parce que tu as la notion de complexité.
It smells a bit like cheese.
A very fresh cheese.
That smells of the sea. That smells of grass. La mer, la terre. And Monsieur Dice claims that his vineyards all have a different taste, and he could recognise the different vineyards by the taste of the stones and the earth if he were blindfolded, which I'm prepared to believe. If they're in different terrain, they're going to have a different taste. But I wanted to test him on it, and rather conveniently, all his vineyards are too far apart for that to be possible. And he did admit earlier on that he has samples of the soil and the stones from each of his vineyards in his office, but sadly, they've lost their flavour, apparently. You see, my girlfriend's developing a bit of a taste for wine, so if we go to the pub, she will say, I want to go out and I'd like a glass of wine, I'd like a glass of Pinot Grigio or something like that, which is fine, but of course she says the wines in the pub aren't very good, and I'm sure they're not very good. But the trouble then is she starts saying, well, we need to go to a pub where the wine's nice, and then we go to a pub where the beer isn't nice, because I like proper beer in my local. And then we go out for an Indian meal, and she says, can we go for an Indian? And I said, yeah, let's go to my favourite, the Light of Nepal, which does Indian Kingfisher Lager, which I really like. But then she says, no, but the wine's not very good in there. Can we go to the one down the road where the wine's good? And down the road they have the good wine, but they have really poncy brasserie curry, and they don't have the proper beer. And wine is essentially ruining my life.
Well, just see that your girlfriend's actually fighting a really strong vanguard action here, because until about the 1980s, women actually had nowhere to go and drink. And it was because wine turned up and wine bars were created that women at last had their own place to fight against the domination of men and pubs.
Yeah,
because basically pubs are men's places on the whole.
They are a bit. I mean, my local is pretty much a bloke's pub, to be
Old-fashioned
honest.
pubs are blokes' places.
But it's what the pub landlord calls fruit-based drinks for the ladies. But that's what it is. It's wine. I mean, because in the old days, girls used to drink things like lager and blackcurrant, and they were just disgusting. And I don't blame them for not wanting to continue that hateful tradition.
And things like snowballs and other strange, really weird drinks in small bottles.
This is what France is all about if you're a tourist and a holidaymaker for Britain. It is about table football, or baby-foot as they call it. It's in every single bar in France. Oz has made friends with a couple of French blokes. They've challenged us to a game, and this is a chance to rescue our reputation as Englishmen. We are England.
Yes! Something's happened to you!
Etc.
Yes!
No good.
Come on, what do you mean? Yes!
What?
No good.
What?
As is hanky-panky, skullduggery, and
Jiggery-pokery.
You
Look up.
You can't make a goal with this.
Why not? Who invented this game?
Because it's shit.
It's not shit. That's skill. Midfielders can score. This man can score in football.
Midfield don't make goals.
This is like the European Union. You've changed the rules to suit your lot.
Vamos! Ronaldinho! Hop là! Oh, yes!
No. You can score. You can score with him, but not with him.
And with him?
This one, no good.
So
this one, no good.
Okay, hang on. Let me just
This
make.
one, all right.
Let me make sure
This
I've understood this.
All right.
No. Wait.
What you say?
Wait. No.
No. This one, no good.
No.
This one,
no.
not when here. All right?
If you'd explain that at the beginning, then
It would have made no difference whatsoever.
Right. Trafalgar.
Are you
right.
ready?
Yes.
Oh, there!
Insulting.
Yes!
Last one.
So we've got to score 8 goals with this ball.
We can do it. We can do it. It's been done before.
Bit of backspin.
Yes, ma'am.
Nicely forward.
Opa!
Yes.
Oh, Zach!
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Just a moment.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Merci.
What are we actually doing here in Manchester, as it appears to be?
Well, we're going to see this lady, Madame Duval-Leroy. She's a really important younger generation mover and shaker in the champagne business.
Have I got to drink more of the ready stuff?
Well, yes, if you, James, you spent the whole last month saying, oh, I'll never get a drink, finally get you to drink the most expensive wine in France, and you say you don't like it.
I don't like it.
Oh, don't be so bloody miserable.
I'm not being miserable, I just don't like it.
You're behaving like a sort of 5-year-old spoilt kid.
I'm not. I know I don't like champagne.
Well, 5-year-old spoilt kids say they know they don't like vegetables. You still have to bloody eat them.
Yeah, but that's different. When you're 5, you don't know anything. I'm 43 and I've had
And you still don't know
38
anything.
years to know that I don't really like fizzy wine.
We have 160 billion brain cells. So you'd really have to hammer into the wine to destroy enough to make a difference.
So how much does a big night of a big bender, how many brain cells does that destroy?
I don't know, about 1 million probably.
And we've got
60 billion.
So you can have a lot of benders before you need to worry, because we don't use all of our brain anyway, do we?
Well, actually,
well, I certainly don't
no, you
use all
don't.
of mine.
If you could actually find a way that you were destroying the brain cells in a bit of the brain that you didn't use, i.e. nearly all of it, it would be...
Okay, the bit that you need to go shopping for shoes. So
or the bit you need to go and buy new curtains. I'd like to destroy that bit.
But I'd be quite happy to drink away the part of my brain
that makes you move house.
Yeah, that's a very good one.
Part
The part of my brain that makes me want to move house. I've almost
Get rid
lost
of
that
it.
bit anyway, but I'd like to be sure with a couple of bottles of really expensive Burgundy that I'm never going to move house again.
And I'd like to get rid of the part of my brain that says, why don't you get some new curtains, some new carpets and redecorate? If I can get rid of that.
Get rid of that, because that's just a fool's errand, and the money you would have wasted on curtains and carpet you can spend on more drink.
Which would then get rid of more bits of my brain.
Yeah, that's very self-fulfilling.